Ago.
Amen.
Ago.
Amen.
Ago.
Amen.
We'd like to thank you all once again for coming here to our IAS film series this Thursday. I'm sure we'll have more who are coming in, but we are very excited about this one. This is about, as you know, Sir Anta Diop. Let's say that name. Sir Anta Diop. Very good. We're saying it the Wolof way, as opposed to when you read it, you'll say Cheikh Anta Diop. No, that's not it. Sir Anta Diop. So, yes, feel free. Sir Anta Diop. Very good. So this is one of our multi-geniuses. As you know, nuclear physicist, anthropologist, politician. If we have to list all the things that he did, we would never see the film this evening. So with no further ado, the film is for the most part in French, but the French parts have subtitles. Other parts you will also be able to follow along with those. So again, we want to thank you for coming to the IAS film series, and we invite everyone to stay after. We'll always have our discussion and our follow-up historic photo. So thank you once again. Ago. Ago. I think it was a very engaging film. I'm glad to see the room is very well populated today. Without much ado, I'd like to turn it over to the audience, to those of you who are here, for any comments, thoughts, reactions, ideas, inspiration, any of the above, critiques that you may have about the film. The ball's in your court. Anyone? And also I'd like to thank Dr. Jallo Diop, who was one of those who was interviewed in the film. I sent him an email, we're part of the same group, and I sent him an email saying, oh, it would be good if we could have this film to show. He said, oh, I'll send it to you. Now sometimes people say, oh yeah, I'll take care of you, like, okay. It arrived like about a couple weeks after, from Senegal, so, we were able to show this film as part of our film series, thanks to, again, one of those who was interviewed here. So any questions, comments?
No questions per se, but just thoughts I'd like to put out there. First of all, I liked how Diop was a product and a pioneer of combining language, science, history, philosophy, because he started off in philosophy as well. We have learned too much to break things up and be compartmentalized, but we saw the power of what happens when you combine your thinking across different fields. And then there was one point that someone made that I would like people to debate or talk about. He said, somebody said, knowledge is more powerful than economic and political power. That was a very interesting statement. And yeah, I'd love to know what people feel about that, and conversation around that.
Example of knowledge is powerful than political and economic power. I will just give you an example of what happened in Nigeria during the General Sani Abacha regime. He was a military dictator. He has the state power, the state machinery is behind him, and he has all the money, the oil resources at his disposal. But you realize that Wole Soyinka, with his pen, stood up to Abacha government and won. I mean, single-handedly, Soyinka campaigned against Abacha without a barrel of gun. Soyinka is not a rich man. He used the power of poetry and literature to confront an hegemonic state. That is what you achieve if you have knowledge. Of course, Abacha has all the guns. He can kill Ken Saro-Wiwa, but Ken Saro-Wiwa also, through his pen, stopped oil production in Ogoni land from early 1990 up to this moment, that is knowledge of power and money. That is knowledge of power, what you can do over money and other, worldly materials. Thank you.
I agree that knowledge is power, but what are we using our knowledge for? That's the question. We have a lot of children right now here in the university who are gaining knowledge, but what are they using the knowledge to do? Is it to uplift the people, or is it to downtrod the people? People use degrees to do bad things to other people. Yes, knowledge is power, but we have to know what we're using our knowledge to do. And as a people, us just seeing that documentary, people like me that's been in Pan-Africanism from a very young age, I'm rare. A lot of people don't want to even see Africa as anything. People that live right here in Africa. So we have to really know what we're going to use our knowledge to do. Is it going to be to educate our people, or is it going to just to be saying, I have a PhD, I have an MD, I have a college degree, I have a bachelor's, or even an associate. So we have to be able to take the knowledge that they give us and use it to utilize it and actually bless our people with it. Thank you.
YouTube na obiara tumi anya bi ahwɛ but kame akɔyɛ sɛ nneɛma a ayɛ a nyansa ne nimdeɛ bebree ɛwɔ mu sei no mobɛhwɛ no na asɛ ɛwɔ nipa kakraa bi nkyɛn nti wei deɛ mɛsrɛ sɛ mobɛbɔ mmɔden a na moatumi ama ne aba mframe na obiara so nsa ntumi aka bi meda ase bebree.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to thank the gentleman who just spoke about bringing this video on air so that everybody can have a look at it very well. But the lady sitting on my right made mention of education, people who actually going to school and having PhDs and a lot of degrees. But honestly speaking, this is my view. I don't know what anybody thinks about it, but I think the school is there to lie to us. That's what I think. I don't know what anybody is. That's my view, right? Because there are a lot of things that are being hidden from us. This, trust me, if not today, I've never heard of such a great man. But I've been through primary school, I've been through JSS, I've been through secondary school, but why? So, what I'm trying to say is that if we are actually going to rely on what the school has to give us, then we are going to be down. Yeah, so we have to go out of school to look for research, do research, and all those other things to empower the world. That's what I think.
Thank you, young man. Thank you, because you have to realize that the schools that we attend have all been set up by Europeans. They don't want you to know the things that we just saw here. And so in this huge university, this is the only little corner of it that you'd be taught this. I have two youngsters that live with me, one going to GEMPA, one attends here going to sociology. And she's doing studies on sociology, and every single person is the father of this and they're all white men. You would think that a black man never had an original thought in his head, ever. If you go through the books that they have you read for sociology or history or anything, taught right here at this African university. Only white people are being taught. And so you're correct. It's almost as if they're setting you up for failure.
Thank you. You know, one of the things that I was really touched about in the film was how thoroughly self-taught Sake was. I mean, he was clearly self-taught. What you see is what happens, what can happen when you're self-taught. It's beautiful. The other thing that was beautiful is his openness and warmth to share the information. He wasn't territorial. He wasn't egotistical. He didn't kiss anybody's ass. But he was very open and sharing. And then the other thing that really touched me was how it was said that he was always around young people, even when he himself was very young. And I think that gives a clear directive for us. As you're sitting here on your cell phone, some of you were texting during the movie. I'm assuming you're texting emergencies, or maybe you're texting scenes from the movie. But this is what we can do. You can do that. You're already on your phone. You're already sending a text, so make it worthwhile. Do like he would have done and text some information that's going to help elevate somebody. You know, when my own children were young, and yes, Naya, their textbooks, everybody was white, and you would think no African person ever had any appreciable anything to contribute to civilization. Well, what I made them do was I made them do the assignment, but then go through and document how earlier people, African people, actually came up with that. So the teacher couldn't fault them for not doing the work because it was there, but I just had them add to it. I had them supplement. So again, lest we leave from here with just having a stimulating conversation and seeing a really good film, you have brothers, you have sisters, you have nieces, you have nephews. Get this information to them. Get it to them. There's children's books out there now. You know that? On this. It's there. So it would be a shame, and it would be a slight against the legacy of Sake and to joke if we leave here and it doesn't provoke us to do something as progressive as he's done, even if it was just with two people. You saw him and Theophilo Benga at UNESCO. That was two people against all of that. And look what they did. It was two. So if you and your niece or you and your nephews can be a force with the same kind of impact. So that's one of the things I'm hoping for. I'm grateful for this film, grateful to you, Doctor, for reaching out and getting it and procuring it and making it happen. And this is a beautiful moment to be here, but I'm really hoping that there's some takeaways from all of us in this room. I know I'm inspired. I know I'm gonna do something. I don't know about y'all, I'm gonna do something.
Let me quickly add something to my brother, my sister who raised the issue of knowledge and the kind of PhD we are getting, or degrees we are getting. Now, I think we have to start questioning the essence, the whole process of knowledge production. I think that is where the enslavement is. Now, do we read what we write in Africa? And when we write, whom are we writing for as a researcher? Are you writing for the grant body, the donor agencies that gave you the money, or you are writing for African development? They are two different things. And the mode of dissemination, do we own it in Africa? The best literatures on African studies are not available on the continent. It's either you go to the United States, Northwestern University, Columbia, or you go to United Kingdom. Even as a historian, I want to write about African history. Primary documents are stocked away in United Kingdom, Kew Gardens. Here in Africa, you don't have the materials to write your own history. And when you write your own history, the parameter is set in the metropolitan country. So the degree has been configured not to benefit your life, but for you to earn your wages and live as a civil servant or a researcher and just retire somewhere. Europeans dictate what you write. They dictate what you publish. You write, reviewers will send it back to you. Take this out, take that out. You have to do it. Because your university insists you have to publish outside your country to get international recognition. So the essence of your research is defeated when your publisher sets what you must have in your journal and what should not appear in your journal. So at the end of the day, your degree is useless to you. It's just for you to earn your wages as a labor provider.
Thank you. I have a question. actually a student of philosophy and political science. And when we were being told about the origin of humanity, it was said that the first primate, that is the Australopithecus, was found in Africa. But then when we went ahead to study the civilization of antiquity, Africa was left out. We saw Greece civilization, Roman civilization, Mesoamerican, Indian, and then there was not like African civilization. So I want to know why African civilization has been left out.
Let's talk the Europeans.
Just like with the Bible, whoever has the book can produce.
These materials available in the university, and how do people get access to it? Yeah. So are these materials available in the university library, and how do we, the outsiders, get access to this?
Thank you. Please, I want to say something about what you just said. I equally read philosophy classes, and in our course of study, we really learned something about African civilization. That was the Egyptian civilization, and Egypt is in Africa here. So I think that one is something small they said about Africa. Although it wasn't enough, so we can't just say they didn't say anything at all about Africa. Something was said about Africa. And in Egyptian civilization, we learned more about the pharaohs and what they did for Africa. How the Nile River supported the Egyptians when they had no source of water, and how the African man, that the Egyptian, was able to use that Nile River for the entire Egyptian country to build their own country. Thank you.
That was the whole point of the film. You missed the part of the film, I think. What they were really trying to say is that Egyptians weren't African. And that's what the man was trying to prove through scientific research. Because even in America right now, it's a big debate amongst African Americans and different cultures about the fact that Egypt, even though it's in Africa, Africans didn't live there. That's their whole reasoning right now, that even though Egypt is in Africa, those people were not African. That is what the man was proving in the film, that is a fallacy. It's false facts that they have put out to say that Egyptians were not Africans. Now, if the first man was actually created here, or the first woman was actually created here in Africa, how is it now that these Egyptians now miraculously wasn't African? We've been fighting this argument for some years now. I'm 47 years old, and I know at least for about 25 years now, because a lot of African Americans, Africans, and black people all across the world, they're really into the Kemet study now. And it's been disputed, like you saw in the film. A lot of Africans were saying, no, what the man was even saying is false. That no, we Africans wasn't in Egypt. The white man has proven it, even though the man was proven in fact that no, it's not true. But a lot of Africans are brainwashed. We don't believe in our own selves. That's the problem with all of us. Not all of us per se, but as a nation. We have to start believing in our own self. We can't let the book teach us. That's what I'm saying. When we have the knowledge, like the sister said, what are we going to do after this? The same way she's saying you're on the telephone. You can Google. No, they don't have all the information here, but right now the internet is an encyclopedia, a dictionary, a newspaper, anything you want to use it for. That's what the internet is for right now. We have to start researching our own selves. We cannot allow them to teach us who we are anymore. We have to go and find that information. And that's what I want all of y'all to take from here today. Don't let them tell you who you are. Stop listening to that. Stop letting them tell us who we are, where we've been, where we're going, and all that. We have to stop this. We can't look for them to give us answers. They will never give us the answers. They will keep lying because we are the master race. They don't want to say that. Yes, they have tainted my skin, but in the midst of all of it, they know I'm still a black woman. And that's what we all have to start looking at. We can't look at skin color and say, oh, she's not African enough. Because I'm doing the work. All of my children know African languages. I made sure they was raised here in Africa. They could have easily been in America studying, but I was conscious when I came here 20 years ago. That I wanted my child born here in Africa. I wanted her to know her heritage. Because guess what? In America, Nicki Minaj right now is eating herself out and kissing herself on the picture at the same time. And that's what we're excited about as a people. This documentary right here, if you was to show that to 1 million black people right now, they would still about 900,000 of them will walk away and down and say, the man don't know what he's talking about. We've always known that Egyptians was Arabs or whatever they want to call themselves. And we know it's a lie. But because they keep brainwashing us, that's part of our problem. We have to come out of it. That's the whole thing. So like the sister said, use the internet to educate yourself. Knowledge is power, but we have to have, what we have to know is what we're using our knowledge for. We cannot allow them to teach us, our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren anymore. Because even as I see the sister in the back right here, right now they're trying to give the GMO to us like in Africa right now like candy. And we're not fighting. We're not in the streets or anything fighting this. Do you know what will happen to our people when we start really eating GMO food? It's deeper than a book. We are in a spiritual, cultural war right now. They're trying to erase us as a people. Right now, what's his name? The Queen of England's grandson is right now talking about depopulating Africa. How do you think they will do that? Through food and water. Right now they're going to make it so we don't even have water to drink. Check it. We have to wake up. These schools are important, yes, to further our development, but we as a people have to further ourselves. We are waiting too long. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a very enlightening video. I'd heard of Sheikh Kemtiyu, but I've learned so much from the video. And it's so profound that you have such a great thinker who has not made it to the level of acceptance in our societies. And like we're saying, we're on a university campus here. I think we need to start maybe like a petition or something that we sign up to build a critical mass, which will let the university authorities and our government in general realize that no student should leave this campus without a basic, maybe 2, 3, 4 courses that will orient your mind and recalibrate you to think in this fashion. That before you get your university degree from the University of Ghana, unless you're going to be useful to Ghana, you must go through whatever it is, a crash course of a minimum basic thing that will reorient your mind so you think with the philosophy of the likes of Osajifo and the likes of Sheikh Kemtiyu and so on. And then that is when it will reflect in our society. So I think we should start some sort of a petition which ends up having hundreds of thousands of names that we can present and says that every single student that leaves these universities must have a minimum of 3, just like how other nations make it necessary and compulsory to have military training before you get, before you become a citizen or whatever it is. But these things are directly sewn into creating the next thought leaders. And right now everything is, Man U, Chelsea, our people are just off track. And it suits the powers that be that tonight you go to every corner of this city and there's 4, 5, 6 able young men and women watching TV, watching telenovelas, and things that are just not going to build the African future that we need. So I think it starts from making sure that university campuses make it mandatory that these thought leaders, we invite them. And I want to salute all people who are pushing, for African history, but it's profound. I mean, such a thinker, and I salute his bravery for him to have said these things in the time when he was saying them, when it was highly unpopular to challenge. Even today in 2017, we have people who are so afraid to challenge the status quo. So for him to do that 60, 70 years ago is to be saluted. And long live Sheikh Kemtiyu.
I think to add to what my colleague said, it goes beyond just people taking courses It goes beyond just people taking courses. I think we need to call for a total decolonization of the curriculum in Ghana, as is happening elsewhere. I, in particular, am getting tired of having conversations with people, whether within the policy circles or in academia, and then it's as usual. Ah, that is him, African studies. Oh, that is him, African studies. It is good and it is bad. It is good in the sense that they realize that you have a more critical perspective to what is happening. Yes, I had my first training in political science and psychology. It was mainstream, it was neoliberal, it was whatever you want to call it. But it was a conscious effort on my part. Not all of us can have that conscious effort. But what is happening now is that we are not competing only as graduate students of the University of Ghana within the state apparatus of Ghana. Any student who leaves the four corners of the University of Ghana must be globally competitive. And to be globally competitive, you must be critical. And what you must start doing now is to have a complete overhaul of the curriculum. What makes you a total human being? What makes you very much aware of your colonial origins and your current situation, and how you can deal with that within the global sphere of affairs. And I think that what you are calling for is very right. Let us start the movement now. See, students, I always say that we have the power. If students demand what they want, in the first place, you pay for the service. You pay to gain knowledge in the University of Ghana. It is not free. Even if government is taking part of the fees, you still pay. And you must demand for quality service by the fact that you are paying for something. Right. And I think we should start the movement now to ask that enough of the whitewashing, enough of the miseducation, enough of the diseducation. They are disempowering us. They are brainwashing us. They are wiping away our history. We need to ask them to start giving us what we need to be globally competitive. What we need to understand that we are humans, we are of black origin, and this is our contribution. This is where we stand in the affairs of the world, in the affairs of world happiness. And this is how we ought to contribute to bring about change. And that is, and it is only through that we can see a change. Not only within our own sphere here as Ghanaians or as Africans, let me say as Africans in general, because the University of Ghana is very cosmopolitan. It has a lot of people from other African countries. But then also, it brings an awakening that not until we understand this and we get to know, and by the way, once you begin to know our origins, we begin to see the dark side of European civilization. We begin to see what they have hidden in the power of the discourses that they preach to us. And once we understand the savagery that they harbor and they are implanting on us currently, yes, through various means, we won't be able.
The Bible.
Yes, I know the Bible is one of them. We won't be able to actually demand what is right for us. And so I think that your call is very apt. And then let us all join the movement and make sure that this happens. If not now, in the very possible future. Not independence in the shortest time, but independence now.
I think I'm an engineering student, but I actually just came here to, and I'm Pan-Africanist actually, so I came here to see what it's my first time here. But I was really surprised to see that someone from Africa was involved in science technology. I mean, since my learning, I never knew science technology actually had anything to do with old Africa, actually. This is my first time of seeing this, and I'm really happy because in school I know everything is white. Anything technology is white. I never knew that something like that could come from Africa. And seeing him living involved in Africa, anything African has really inspired me. Most of the times in engineering school, you'll be asked, or most of the lecture will tell you something like, I attend University of Ghana. Most of the students attend University of Ghana Engineering School. A fellow also attends Harvard University. And then we both finished school in, well, into something else that's really not so much important. And my fellow at Harvard has invented something. So basically, he told me that when you look at the curriculum, everything is the same. So how come the white students in Harvard University is excelling and you're here, everything is not cool? I mean, someone finishes from the engineering school, biomedical engineering, and is into teaching. I mean, GHS or SHS, something like that. But this fellow at Harvard University is doing so well. He's inventing stuff that are really impacting. So what is that hidden light in there? So I think that we also want to improve as Africans. We have to bridge the gaps, as in also petitioning the right people who can help us improve upon ourselves. Because one thing I think is also bringing African down is the leaders that we bring who are not really thinking ahead that we should do this for our people, we should do this for our people. Most of them are just belly full. They just can't think about themselves and other things. There are factors that could impact Africa. But if we get rightful leaders, you'll see that one thing that I read mostly about white people, right? Some revolutions that came from the leaders that they had. The leader will tell you that we can do this, they put the right things in place and they're able to achieve it. But in Africa, it's not like that. So I think that in as much as we think white people are doing this, we also have to look at ourselves and put the right people who are supposed to work. We should let them work. That's what I think. The people who are supposed to work, we should have to let them work. And if it goes on that way, I think we'll also be growing bit by bit. So I think with that side of the issue, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. My name is Patrick. I sincerely want to thank you, Doc, for letting us have some of these things. I just want to add to the clarion call that we need to have a movement that should awaken our conscience to this reality. I just want to state that watching the film, I realized that he made mention of he referred to the Bible. And those of us here who still think that we are Christians, and we go to the pulpit, yes, I am. I am a Christian. I don't make a fuss about that anyway. But we go to the Bible and we read everything that is there, and we don't even look at what is there critically and what is the African contribution to the Bible. Our contribution is found even in that literature that the whites have brought to this. I first encountered it when I listened to one Matthew Ashimoro about the black contribution to civilization. And I think that if we are here and are still Christians, we need to revisit and go back, look at it, and you'll be proud that you are an African and you made a great contribution to civilization and to the Bible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Doc, for the phone. I'm really not comfortable in my seat right now because I feel I'm in debt. Like, I owe my country a lot. I've been wasting my life for a very long time. I've been stuck with the curriculum, learning, writing exams, passing, going on and on. Really, I could have used my life for better things to I think for now we are stuck with the situation that we have to go to the status quo. But as most of us have said, we have to start thinking about learning on our own to develop ourselves. I think I have to develop myself to help my people. Because look at the population here, just a few. Then the rest of the population about 35,000 and over. And look at the population here. We have to do a lot. I'm in debt. I owe my country a lot. And this man, Sheikh, I don't know what to say. He's the greatest. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on a few things that people had said. Somebody asked about where we can get these books. I actually have my hard drive with me. I've got a few Diop books on here. So if you have your laptop or something, I can transfer straight away. What else? Somebody mentioned about leaders that we have now. We don't have leaders now. We have professional politicians. They know how to thrive in the status quo and maintain the status quo, and that's what all they're there for. It's a mistake to call these guys by the same titles that we call actual leaders. That's not what they're here for at all. And also, we can also learn from what I'm going to call the unsung hero of this documentary, and that's the white Egyptologist there. Every sentence he spoke was a lie, and we can learn so much about the lying white man from that documentary because mostly his lips were moving. Anything he said was a lie. We can stack up the evidence of everything that he said and how it was a lie. And that's important to note because I think we've socialized ourselves to a great extent to think that when a European is lying, he's got a gun in his back pocket or something, like, you know, he looks dangerous. This is not it. Most of the time when a white man is lying, it's what he looked like. Smiling, well-dressed, very gentle. He even complimented Diop. But then the next sentence was, he was wrong in this, he was wrong in that. So we really need to pay attention and take those traits and responses of when a white man was lying and look when we're reading the news. And it's not only when Trump is talking as well. Trump is not the only, in fact, he's more honest than most white people you'll find. And analyze what a white man looks like when he's lying, and then track it across every scientist you know, every newsreader you know, every advertiser, every business person you know, and say, okay, how does he look, and where can I go to find out what lies he's telling me?
Okay, the gentleman behind, the gentleman who said he's studying engineering, you said the inventions, they are most are from the white man. No, you see, that's one of the big lies that I've been told. The inventions are from the black man, but the white man is saying it to favor him. So the mobile phone, your mobile phone is a black man who invented it. It's a black man. But what were you told? That's the white man who invented it. That's one of the big lies. You see, and my problem again is with Christianity and the pastors. That's my biggest problem. And last week I said is, if you are able to tackle that side, trust me, I think half of the work is done. If you are able to tackle that side, let the pastors lose their jobs, sleep at home. Trust me, like half of the job is done. It's done. Because they are going to keep on lying to us. They are going to keep on lying to us. That's because we don't want to hear the truth. Excuse me, I'm not talking to anyone, I'm not saying anything, but the women don't want to hear the truth. That's why they are feeling their congregation. Yeah, so please, the females, please spark up your brain and don't let anyone lie to you. Don't be gullible. And you are strong. The melanin is strong. Trust me.
Thank you. I'm actually I'm Asabab Namwa, and I really want to find out what does it mean. What does it mean to be from Kemet, and what does it mean to be from Egypt? I want to find the difference between people from Kemet and people from Egypt. And also from the video, I learned that he was self-taught, meaning we all here don't need to be indoctrinated with European schools, but rather we should change from within. We should ask ourselves, who are we? Because it's in the blood. And the blood speaks of our DNA, and our DNA is who we are. So we should first try to understand ourselves and also teach the children, not these university people. No, these people are already cemented their minds concrete. There's no way you're going to change it. It's like a sheep. When you beat the sheep, it becomes so stubborn that it doesn't feel the pain no more. It feels to be like, thank you for beating me. But you know, the children, you can teach the children. And One thing I like about the Bible is they say Jesus loved little children. We know people didn't like Jesus. We know people didn't like Jesus during his time in the Bible, but afterwards you should know that all the children are who he was teaching indirectly, and they are the ones who came to bring what Jesus taught. So why can't we be like Jesus and teach the children? No, I'm not saying Jesus. I'm not saying Jesus. I'm not saying Jesus. I'm not saying Jesus. What I'm trying to say. No, I'm not saying. You don't understand what I'm saying. All I'm trying to say is I'm using a theory. I'm using a theory.
That's part of the problem.
You see, it's a theory. I'm not saying we should be like Jesus or trying to walk on water or something like that. I'm trying to, I don't.
Why are you trying to walk on water?
See, I'm trying to let us understand a theory here is that all we have to do is teach our children. Teach our children and teach our children, because if we teach our children and we are not there, they will take over. It's just like what he did. If he didn't do this and he was always around young people, we saw that. They're saying he was always around young people. So let's also teach our needs, the little ones. So that even we don't know when we will lose our lives, but when we lose our lives, we will die smiling, knowing that, oh, there's a great future ahead of us. Thank you.
ndaxte ñu ngi waxtaan ci bureau Cheikh Anta Diop bëgg na waxtaan tuuti ci Wolof. So because we're speaking about Cheikh Anta Diop, I want to speak for a little bit in Wolof. Suñu gisee Cheikh Anta Diop ci UNESCO am nañu ndam ci xeex, wante ginnaaw boobu war nañu am ndam ci jàmm. That when we look at what Cheikh Anta Diop was able to accomplish at UNESCO, you saw that we were able to win the war, but now the question is about winning the peace afterwards. And ndaxte suñu waxtaan gis nañu ne amuñu dara ci bureau Cheikh Anta Diop fii. Because if we look at all of the responses that we're having here, people don't know anything about Cheikh Anta Diop. Am na ndam wante xamuñu dara. He was able to be victorious, but we don't even know his name. Gannaaw loolu suñu waxtaan ci bureau Kemtiyu maanaam nit ñu ñuul. When we look at the title of this film, Kemtiyu, it means black people. Suñu waxtaan Egypt amul tekki. If we say Egypt, it doesn't have any meaning to us. Wante nit ñu ñuul, but those were black people. Kemtiyu Tunan, that their name was Kemtiyu, that's what they called themselves, was black people. Gannaaw loolu dem naa ci Morehouse. I went to Morehouse College, jàngukaay ju kawe Cheikh Anta Diop waxtaan foofu. So Cheikh Anta Diop was speaking at Morehouse College. Wante su ma demee war naa jàng mbiru netta ci Morris Brown ndaxte amuñu mbiru netta foofu. So I went to that same school that he spoke at, but when I was there, you couldn't learn mbiru netta there at that school. You had to cross-register to Morris Brown in order to learn mbiru netta. Comme boog dinañ waxtaan bu bare wante amuñu cosaan ak xam-xam ci bureau nit ñu ñuul foofu. So even though they were talking about Cheikh Anta Diop, when you actually went to the school, you'll be very disappointed because they didn't have all the knowledge and things that he was talking about at that very same school that he was speaking at. Sama benn xarit waxtaanoonam ci biiru war nañu bind ci biti, that my colleague was speaking about how you have to write outside before you have to get published outside ngir àggale ci sunu liggéey in order to be able to get promoted in our work. Wante mën nañu waxtaan ak nit ñu ñuul, but we can publish among other African people. Bind naa benn kayit ci Umzansi. I wrote one paper and I had it published in South Africa. And ndaxte waruñu waxtaan ak tubaab, because we don't have to be talking, our audience doesn't have to be white people. Mën nañu waxtaan ak sunu nit ñu ñuul, because we can have these conversations and publish among our other African people ci meneen réew in other countries. sama benn xarit waxtaanam ne mu ngi jàng xam-xam yu xóot wante xalaatam war nañu tubaab rek la ñu am sa xam-xam. That he was learning about engineering and science, but he thought it was only Europeans. Nit ñu ñuul sunu waxtaan ci biiru borom xam-xam Mark Dean moom la def ordinateur. That if we talk about Dr. Mark Dean, he is the one who invented the computer. Nit ku ñuul la, and he was also an African man. He was a black man. Wante duñu jàng ci biir boobu nag, but we don't learn about those things as well. Comme boobu war nañu àggale ci sunu xam-xam ci sunu jàmm ndaxte su waxee tubaab fen nañu. That when we're talking about these white people, they are liars. They are lying. Ndaxte bëgg nañu dund ci àdduna because they want to survive in this world. They want to stay living. Xam nañu ne sunu waxtaan ci biiru dëkk mënuñu dund because they understand that if they start to tell the truth, that will compromise their ability to live in this world. Dinañu àggale ci lu ñëw fii. So we'll continue with others who have come here, but I wanted to, one, in homage of Sheikh Anta Diop, do a little bit of Wolof, and we'll come back around.
That's a question about Kemet.
Well, anyway, Mama Susan Kochi. So in that case, let me change it to Chi. Okay, I didn't so funny that Egypt in a Kemet in them. So he asked, what's the difference between Egypt and Kemet? Egypt. So if we Hut Ka Pata, that the word Egypt is coming from Hut Ka Pata. Actually, obosom bi a friend of Pata, Nekra Fie. That it comes from a sentence, the enclosure of the house, the enclosure of the soul of Ptah, which was one of the abosom from Kemet, Hud Ka Ptah. Greek form of Umuntuminka, but when the Greeks came, they weren't able to say Hud Ka Ptah. Abosom Fie. That was an actual house, a shrine to that deity Ptah. And Ti Omokano, Aegyptos. So they pronounced it as Aegyptos. Now, so before I know Mohono, Freno, Hud Ka Ptah, Freno, Egyptos, Freno Bibi, Freno Kemet. But the Africans who were there, they didn't call it Hud Ka Ptah as the name of the country initially. They also didn't call it Egyptos, that was Greek. What they called it was Kemet, that was the name for the land. So you share the decontrol, you see, I fought or some home in a soon some home. You who say your friend home Kemtiyu, I was hiding. That if we look at the very first spiritual text in the history of the entire planet Earth, which are known as the pyramid text, that's the very first in the Old Kingdom, the very first mention of Kemtiyu. The decontrol, that is the very first spiritual text in the history of the entire world. And who said your friend home Kemtiyu. Now if you Kemtiyu, I be before. You share Kemeta, I be mine. You share a beautiful Nina war if you are finding Nano. You share say Frey Hono, a year Kemtiyu. So if we look all throughout Africa, the way we call ourselves is as black people. So you share Yoruba Kasa, Ile Adulawa. So if you look at the Yoruba language, Ile Adulawa, I be mine. That the way it's called in the Yoruba language is land of black people. So you share Bambara Kasa, if you look at the Bambara language, Iowa Mali, almost Abibimano, Farafina, that the way they call Africa is Farafina, land of black people. So you share Wall of Kasa, Real Nyul, the land of people who are black. That's how they call Africa. You share Chi Abibimai, and I can't them. So you share Kikongo Kasa, Iowa Congo, in Sia Bandombe. So if you look at the Kikongo language from Congo, they call it the land of black people. You share Kemeta, Sansu, Abibimai, Sana Sechere. You share Greek Kasa, Ethiopia. So even if you look at the Greek language, Ethiopia, Echere Abibimai, Abibifo mine. You share Arab for Kasa, Bilad as Sudan. Even if you look at the Arab language, they call it land of the black people. It's Obia Nimse Ahaya Abibimai. And see, who sa or man now when you're bibinia, say, we are man frafo. So if you are in this land of black people and you are not black, it means that you are a recent invader into Africa. Every say, Sabra said, Sheikh Anta Diop Kayano, Sabra Umnina before. Because in ancient times, just as Sheikh Anta Diop said, that they were all black people. I'm gonna call baby now. If they're almost done fufu, and son of my aye. Yo, and see, you ever sound call, you ever sound call Broca Carana, yes, I'm what, comedian or so.
My name is Gideon. I want to say thank you to you to Dr. Campbell and to African Studies for this program. I want to say that Sheikh Kemtiyu is somebody who has been very helpful, not only to courses as we've looked at in terms of Egyptology and other things. I actually read, if you actually read a book by Wole Soyinka, it's called You Must Set Forth at Dawn. You must set forth. You must set forth at dawn. That's one of his books, and he talks about his collaboration with Sheikh Kemtiyu in finding out the authenticity of an old Yoruba goddess called Olorokon, and a number of other things that. So I want to say that he actually had that broad perspective, not just in science and other areas, but also even in terms of literature. And then I want to respond to what my friend said initially, that the university was not teaching us some of these things. Recently, one of our professors told us that it's important that you understand that in the university, or the university may not give you everything, but you have to do your best to bring whatever is happening elsewhere onto what you are learning in the university. That's why it's called university, with universal. So you bring whatever is happening outside. So for instance, I'm here today not because it's part of my coursework. I don't need to come here to get marks, but I decided to be here because I wanted to learn a lot. I was here last week. As much as I'm able, I do well to come around. And then I want to say again that, see, we were talking about 5,000 years ago. We are talking about 4,000 years ago. But it will shock you to know how shallow our knowledge is of our history even 30 years ago, even 50 years ago. Even, so for instance, I interacted with the students, secondary school students, a class of about, say, 60 people. One of the students was called Fulera. Okay, Fulera, those who have concept with Ghanaian history. Fulera. And I said, do you know who Fulera is? And the class of about 60 people, nobody had an idea of Fulera Liman. Okay? Now, even the person who is called Fulera has no idea of anybody who is called Fulera Liman. And this is 1979 or 81 thereabout that would have known. So I am suggesting, for instance, that if it's this much, there's no need for us to just to continue this parade and marching all over every time and people collapsing here and there. I think that we could use that period to learn a little bit of a history or learn a little bit of some aspect of our African life that we think it's important and people need to know about. And the last thing is a question, just asking a question, that concerning the Arab North, northern part of Africa being Arabic now, I want to suggest to Dr. Campbell and the people who organize this program that if it's possible, can we go into how the northern part of Africa became Arab? If it's possible for us to take a look at that one day, we can do that. And then whenever I come around, I get a lot of attack on the Bible. Okay, so and it's good I'm saying it. So, but I am saying again that I'm a Christian. I'm not ashamed of it. But the point is, I think we should, and that's one of the suggestions I'm putting across. Not only the Arab thing, but we should also look at the Bible. One day, maybe when we come around here, let's actually put it on the table so that we don't make it so that we don't call it an attack, a side attack You know, because last week people said it, this week people are saying it. Let's actually put it on the table, okay? Let's actually put it on the table and now let's all take a look at it together so that we don't get involved. So, thank you.
You're so obsessed with the church. You're so obsessed with the church. I can see. Yeah, that's where it all began.
Okay. I always try to be calm, like Dr. Campbell. I start out smooth, but my emotion overwhelms me. There's a saying, you can't sow peas and get corn. For us to be baffled or perplexed as to why we are brainwashed, it's like, it's a norm, because from the moment you're born, from when you start going to school, church, because that's what the schools are here, churches, you're being lied to, you've been fooled.
Yeah.
And it takes us like 20 years or 18 years till we get to this level for us to start learning about Sheikh Anta Diop. Whereas 20 years or 18 years of our lives have been lost. There are a few of us who think independently. We get it from our parents, or from our teachers. But unless we start the learning and the curriculum from early, you're gonna have the products of being brainwashed. I don't like them. I can talk loud enough, right? So you have people like my brother here who say proudly, I'm Christian and I love the Bible and all that. But if you knew your history, as taught from small, you won't be saying that. And I'll give you an example. My son is born here. His name is Kweku, and his mother and I were Afrocentric. We don't teach him the Bible. We tell him that God is black. Matter of fact, we say God is a woman. Woman create. Only in the Bible they tell you, oh, let me sit down. Only in the Bible they tell you, oh, woman came from man. And that's not true. It can't be true. Our ancestors never taught us that. But anyway, back to my son. He's now 7 years old, but when he was going to school, starting kindergarten, and they started to pray, he would tell them, he said, I don't believe in white Jesus. So when you all finish, I'll come in. He's 4 years old. He's now 7, and we had to change 3 schools because of that. We had to change 3 schools because they didn't accept him. He's not Christian. So we're not Christians. Anyway, so he's going down to a school called Kitty College, and although they have an American curriculum, they're more receptive to the fact that we don't want him to be taught Christianity. He's not Christian. We don't want him to be, he's not Muslim. So don't brainwash him. No, and not only that, in the school, I'm going to land, in the school, they have all these white inventions, white inventors. And his mother went there and said, where's all the black inventors? There were many. And every day the children go, they see these white inventions. What does that tell you? That black man didn't create anything, right? So to the school's credit, this year, they have on the wall, on the wall, black inventors, black inventions, and the names of those. So the students can see that we did things. And lastly, what do you expect when, as little girls, they all play white dolls, right? And we think it's normal. And when they start having these bleaching their skins later on in life and start wearing the crazy hair down, what do you expect? It's all part of the brainwashing. So unless you teach it very, very early, we're going to have the same problem that we're having now, talking about we're being brainwashed. We're brainwashing ourselves if we allow ourselves to be taught a foreign curriculum.
Standing ovation for you.
Thank you. Look, I'm from Nigeria. I'm a Yoruba man from Nigeria. Let me tell you the damage religion has done to us as a people. We've lost our identity. That is just right. Last month, when I came to Ghana, I went into a department that's supposed to house me as a fellow of SCLS. And I was astonished when a young man accosted me and said, oh, you are from Nigeria? I said, yes. You're a historian? Yes. What do you work on? I work on blah, 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 blah. He said, I have a message for you. I said, read. Good, sit down. What is the message? And the young man looked at me and said, do you go to church? And I asked him, church? I said, is there any problem that you want me to solve for you? Do you have any spiritual problem that you want me to solve for you? He said, well, if you don't go to church, I just want to tell you that Jesus loves you. Right inside departmental library. That is absurd. And that shows the level of mental colonization on our campuses. I mean, I'm referring to Doug, who want us to start a revolution. The youths that you want to organize are already in shame. How can somebody come to me in a university campus? University campus is supposed to be a secular space.
He's evangelizing.
If you are religious, stay at home. I mean, in Nigeria, let me give you an instance. You can get rusticated from private university if you fail to attend chapel sermon. Covenant University or Oyedepo, you will get rusticated from a university. And we have a very weak state who sit, of course, when you see Mr. President kneeling down for pastors and imam for him to pray, that is symbol of a state. The moment you go down, that means the Nigerian state is before you as a pastor. So you can afford to do whatever you like in your altar. Churches don't pay tithes, buy, aircraft. Okay, so you can see the big problem. Another example, when I was at the University of Ibadan, I was going to Lagos to see my mom, and I saw a lady who was also going to Lagos, so I gave her a ride. We passed through Ijebu. I'm a Yoruba man. I'm from Ademo deity in Yoruba land. Look, I'm a Muslim, but that doesn't erase my identity as a Yoruba man. So when I saw the Ademo people, being a descendant of that deity, I was so happy. And I parked my car and I drove down. I met them with all the deities, the gods, and what have you. And I danced with them, took the gene from them, the simashina, take a shot of it, and I gave them money. I was so happy at that moment. And the lady said, Jesus Christ. So you identify with these people. I said, what happened to them? They said, they are devilish. I said, get the hell out of the car. And I dropped her on the way. Look, I'm a Muslim. I told you earlier, but it doesn't erase the fact that I am a Yoruba man. Once you lose your identity, you lose the humanity in you. And most youths on Nigerian campuses, maybe it doesn't happen in Ghana. Come to Nigeria, for instance. You enter classroom, you want to lecture, student will tell you, sir, can we pray? It happens. Lecturers also, they have campuses around them of their church members, their Muslim members, and all those nonsense. You go to public space in the campuses, Jesus loves you, accept it, and you will be saved. University now have calendars for religious activities. That is crazy. I am not saying you should not practice your religion, but the moment you are coming to university, it's a secular space. It's a place where you have come to acquire universal ideas. Keep your religion at home. And don't forget that one of the potent instruments of colonialism is religion. The white man will come, give you the Bible, take away your oil and cutlass, then you are conquered before the military guys followed. So it goes beyond what we are saying here. Africa is in trouble. We are in crisis. The government we are going to protest, the vice chancellor is an appointee of the states. You don't do what the prime minister or the president tells you to do, then funding will be cut off. In the first instance, the vice chancellor is a product of the same system. I've seen a situation whereby the chief priest, if you want to get employment in a particular university, I will not mention, just go and meet the vice chancellor pastor. Once the pastor recommends you, I can assure you within 24 hours, you will get your employment letter. Now, your loyalty is not to the system. Your loyalty is not to the knowledge production system. It's to the pastor. The pastor will now tell you, okay, what you are teaching your students is evil. Mr. Obadele, there are places you will appear like this and they will not accept you into their family. They will say, oh, this is selfish. What are you putting on? It's evil. I am telling you that it's evil.
They are
okay? But the point is, we need to move back from religion a bit. either Christianity or Islam, you have to move back a bit. Look at yourself. That I asked my friend the other time that, look, if Christianity and Islam have not been imposed on us through colonialism, are you telling me my grandfather, my great-grandfather will perish in hellfire? Then you must be stupid to tell me that. Because these days, pastors and imams are even more evil than the traditional worship. I mean, just open your newspaper every day and what have you. So the problem is religion is the basis of our problem. Once we can solve the problem of religion, I'm telling you, how can students walk up to me, you don't even know me from Adam, right inside the University of Ghana, inside the library, and you want to be preaching to me for God's sake? You don't even look at me and say, step back a bit. If I'm to accept Jesus Christ, I'm over 30 years. It's not you that will now tell me, please accept Jesus Christ as your Savior. So religion has really destroyed our identity as a race.
I wanted to let people know that there are a few of Sheikh Anta Diop's books that are available in the library here at University of Ghana. One is Cultural Unity of Black Africa, and then also African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality, that both of those are available here. Also, Nipa Esim. Nítorí pé bàbá mi sọ̀rọ̀ ní Yorùbá, èmi náà mo fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ní Yorùbá díẹ̀. Because my brother was speaking in Yoruba, I want to, address the same issue in Yoruba. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí a sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ẹ̀sìn. So as we're speaking about religion, àwọn ẹ̀sìn òyìnbó wọ́n mú wá láti mú wá sìn. Bí a bá sọ pé ẹ̀sìn, wọ́n mú wá sìn. That when we're looking at the word ẹ̀sìn in Yoruba, that the same word that's used for colonialism has the same root sìn. Mú ìmúnisìn. Right, to force a person into servitude, ẹ̀sìn servitude. Nítorí náà, èyí fi hàn pé àwọn bàbá wa wọ́n ronú nípa nǹkan tí àwọn òyìnbó mú wá, tí àwọn Lárúbáwá mú wá, nítorí pé nǹkan tó mú wá àwọn méjèèjì kò dára fún wa. Because if we look at what both the whites and the Arabs brought to us, that neither one of those were brought to us for our benefit. Ìmúnisìn, ìdí rẹ̀ tí wọ́n fi mú wá, that rather to force us into servitude, that was the reason why they brought both of those. Nítorí náà, ó yẹ kí a jù wọ́n sílẹ̀ nígbà tí a fẹ́ ṣe nǹkan nípa òdodo tàbí òtítọ́, aláti ju gbogbo àwọn méjèèjì sílẹ̀ nítorí pé kò sí òdodo nínú wọn. That if we want to do anything that has something to do with truth, that has something to do with ma'at, then we have to release both of those. We have to get rid of both of those, because both the religion of our enemies, both the whites and the Arabs, the Eurasians in general, neither one of those are beneficial for us. That's one. I'll now switch into English for those who speak English. There's a quote from Sheikh Anta Diop that I want to share with you, where he says, "The history of Africa will remain suspended in air and cannot be written correctly until African historians connect it with the history of Egypt. The African historian who evades the problem of Egypt is neither modest or objective, nor unruffled. He is ignorant, cowardly, and neurotic." Let me come one more time, because he came full force on that. He says the history of Africa, so if you're doing history, right, the history of Africa will remain suspended in air and cannot be written correctly until African historians connect it with the history of Egypt. The African historian who evades the problem of Egypt is neither modest or objective, nor unruffled. He is ignorant, cowardly, and neurotic. So no matter what subject you are studying, there's a good book called African Philosophy, the Pharaonic Period by Theophilo Obenga, where it goes into the origin of every single subject on this campus right now, using primary texts. So if you want to know the origin of mathematics, he writes down the text. It's not to pat ourselves on the back and say we originate mathematics. Read what your ancestors wrote about mathematics, calculating the volume of a pyramid and a frustrum. If you are in medicine, then you need to find out that the very first text that we're talking about, dealing with circulation, dealing with paralysis, all of these things, all of these texts were written in Medu Neter. So if you don't know about Medu Neter, this language, then you are cut off from the majority of human knowledge. We had someone who was in geography, and I said, "Oh, have you heard of Amenak?" She said, "Who is that?" I said, that's the person who made the first map in the history of the world, right here in Africa. He said, oh, I heard about Anaximander. I never heard of this Amenak you're talking about. I said, exactly, this is what we're talking about. Whatever the subject is, if you are studying it, you need to go and read what your ancestors wrote about it in order to actually get to it. A few people mentioned also the term brainwashing. I'd like to also submit a term, brain dirtying, right? Because you would think if it's washed, then it may be in good condition, but after it's dirty and filthified with all this whiteness. Someone also mentioned that when we learn about the dark side of these Eurasians, I would rather say when we learn about the white side of these Eurasians, you understand? Because when you look at African concepts of blackness, that Asar was called the divinity of perfect black. If you look at the Songhai language, they have the word Bibi, just like in Chi, Abibi Mai, Abibi Drew. And in that language, anything they want to say is pure. They use the term, they use that as the adjective to describe the purity. They will say Hadi Bibi as pure water. If they want to say the sun is powerful, they say Wanye Bibi to say the powerful sun. When they want to say fertile earth, they say Sagiza Bibi. Anything they want to say is good and pure and fertile and powerful, they use the term blackness in order to describe it. So instead of learning about the dark side of the whites, we should learn about the white side, because when it comes to the whites, then we already know what we're dealing with. Here at the Institute of African Studies, we have Intro to African Studies. It was 3 weeks, now it's down to 2 weeks. And that was from a near unanimous vote from colleagues here at the Institute of African Studies. That they said that they wanted to focus on what they were doing and they didn't have time to teach Intro to African Studies, so it was cut down to 2 weeks. There are those of us who are here who want to make it a full year course at least, but that's something that we're still working on. There's a book for those who are taking notes, Black Inventors, 200 Years of Crafting Success, where it documents over 11,000 inventions made by African people from 1900 to 2007. The ironing board, the fountain pen, the golf tee. We could go through. Fiber optics was invented by a Ghanaian. I hope everyone knows that, right? So we can go into those as well. Also, the question was brought up about the Arabs. How did North Africa come to be populated by these Arabs? That there's a good documentary called Black Mummy of the Green Sahara. Black Mummy of the Green Sahara, you can get that freely online. And what it goes into is over 5,600 years ago, that the very first mummy in the history of the world, in the history of Africa, this is before Kemet even started to do mummification, was found in what's now modern day Libya, in the Akafus Mountains. And it's a small child whose body was mummified, an eviscerated mummy. This means that they intentionally removed the intestines, they replaced it with leaves so that it wouldn't decompose, that they put leaves all around the body as well. Then they put it into an antelope skin and buried it. All of this is intentionality. And that mummy is of a black child, blacker than all of us in this room put together. So what that tells us is the place that we now know as Libya, that we associate with images of faces like Gaddafi, that place was once wholly populated by jet black people. Sheikh Anta Diop in the documentary was talking about at that time the oldest fossils were dated to 130,000 years ago. Those fossils were later dated to 195,000 years ago. And he was also talking about the Sahara, when it was humid, that the oldest fossils as of this last year were found 300,000 years ago in what's now modern day Morocco, in a place that is now a desert, but it showed that there were 7 times from the time of that 300,000 years ago, because it takes 41,000 years for that full cycle to complete, where it goes from a lush green place of vegetation to a desert and back and forth and back and forth. They have micro periods in between. But all of this is to say that, again, anyone who you find in Africa who is not black is a very recent invader or reverse migration back into Africa. Because, again, to be close to the equator, you have to be black. You understand? It was only once they migrated out, you had the worm glaciation. You also had a mutation on a specific gene. You can look it up. Soluble liquid carrier 24, SLC 24 A5. And that's the actual gene where this mutation took place, which is the gene that is most responsible for human color, skin color variations. So you can look that up. Also, you can see that those who migrated to Europe also mated with Neanderthals. These are two major differences. One, the mutation on SLC24A5, that gene, and then two, the we could say miscegenation that went on between the Homo sapiens sapiens and Neanderthals. So those are two things that lead to the differentiation in skin color. Also, the point about the Bible was brought up again, and I think we've discussed it before, that if you want to know about plagiarization, that's where you go to the Bible, because all of the concepts that you find in the Bible, you can find in the pyramid text. You can find the Holy Trinity in the pyramid text we're talking about, just short of 5,000 years ago. This is before there was anything called in Israel, anything called in Abraham. 5,000 years ago, carved in stone. You can go and read it right now. I hope you're following. The death and resurrection of the Savior, you can find it in those exact same pyramid texts going back just short of 5,000 years ago. Judgment Day, you can actually see the scenes of a person's heart being weighed against a feather of my eye. So again, they're going back 5,000 years ago. So what you're coming to is what the Hyksos were able to steal and plagiarize. The 42 declarations of Ma'at from which they got the 10 commandments. Psalm 104 is a direct plagiarization of the hymn to the Aten. The book of Proverbs is stolen wholly from the book of Amenemope, stolen line by line, word for word from the book of Amenemope. So what you come to is, what did the Hyksos decide to steal? And then after that, at the Council of Nicaea, what did Constantine decide to put in? And what did he decide to leave out? So when they say it's a holy book, yeah, the original ones were holy, but then you had a lot of infiltration and decisions that were made by white men of what will they keep in and what would they leave out. So we can definitely deal with the Bible, but you'll find that those who are in Christianity, knowledge and Christianity cannot exist in the same place at the same time. That you can only be a Christian if you are wholly ignorant of your African ancestry and all of the history that I'm talking about. And I bet if I ask you, can you recite the pyramid text for me, you can. If I ask you to recite the Bible, you can do that one. But if I ask you to recite the pyramid text from which the Bible stole all those, you can't be Christian unless you are ignorant of all of these things. Because if you learn, if you have knowledge, it will walk you right up out of Christianity to where they stole all of these ideas from. So that's, on that level as well. Hopefully that's been helpful for you. And there was one other point I wanted to make. But I think let's do this. Let's go back around for one more round and then we'll close out. Please don't leave, because we always want to take our historic picture to conclude. We'll do one more round and then we'll bring it to a close.
Yeah, please, you made mention of the black engineer, black inventions, and
the name of the book is Black Inventors, over 200 years of crafting success, and you can get that, you can download that as an ebook from online.
And also the history of how the invaders came into.
Yeah, the documentary I referred you to was Black Mummy of the Green Sahara. And what's interesting is that Serkan Joe was talking about all these things way back in the 80s, and these are things that have been verified even as recently as just last year. You can read about the Green Sahara, and it goes, that you can read about the Green Sahara, and it goes into methods that were used to confirm all the things that Serkan Joe was saying, that what they have done in recent times is that oceanographers have gone and they've gone into the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. We have the Harmattan, and what they're able to do is measure the amount of green matter in the bottom of the ocean versus the amount of just sand. And what they were able to calculate is that you're able to see layers, striations, where in certain periods, where it lasts, again, 41,000 years, you have places where it's very much sand, and then it goes to green places, then it goes back to sand, then it goes to green places, and then you're able to see those micro periods where you had humidity. You can also go into the desert, and it's in that first documentary, Black Mummy of the Green Sahara, where they go into caves, and it shows, again, in those cave walls, images of crocodiles in what's now the Sahara, images of giraffes, images of all these animals that you would associate with the savannah. So crocodiles don't live in the desert, you understand? So at that point in time, and matter of fact, underneath the Sahara Desert is one of the largest, if not the largest, deposits of fresh water on the entire planet Earth, buried under that desert. So all of that is still there. So, once we come to a close, I can give you many, many, many more references. But again, we have to know about this information. You have to be self-taught, because I didn't get this in preschool. I didn't get this in elementary school. I was fortunate to have parents who had a bookstore and cultural center. So Dr. Charles Fincher was in here. He actually came and spoke and talked about these things. But you can find out now. As soon as you get the reference, now you go find it out. His books are in the library, right? Once you know better, you can do better. How many have read his books that you knew that were in the library? He has 8 copies of one and 2 copies of another, so several of you can be shifting back and forth and say, all right, I got it this week, right? So these are things. Let's go back for one more round and then we'll close out. Please stay to the end so we can take our pictures.
Yeah, I had to add my voice just so that I was not erased from this Black Powerful conversation. But I remember first encountering Sheikh Anta Diop in undergrad, and in the philosophy department, that was in my 3rd year, there was this course, African Antiquity. I was amongst the 8 students to maybe 15 who took that class. And on the list of references for the class, Sheikh's, they had a reference for Sheikh, but he wasn't actually discussed in class. It was just there in case you want to look further, I took it upon myself to go read about the work, which was on the origin of civilization, if my memory actually brings it back. But I was really, I don't know, what I found in that work was so for the first time I was wait a minute, somebody is telling me that the Egyptians were black, that. I know all of that. Egyptian scholars came to Africa, Greek scholars came to Africa to study and all of it. Was really, I don't know, so profound in my mind. I did study it for a bit. I remember during the exam, we had a question. Actually, Sheikh Anta Diop was the only person I studied for that exam, interestingly. Because everything else was on classics, some Greek scholars that I wasn't really vibing with. So I did study only Sheikh Anta Diop. I really studied his arguments, memorized it, also got the summaries of his text, just so that I was armed with information, much information. I remember writing that exam, I was really excited, and I made an A in that class. In all of my philosophy classes, I had never made an A, but for the first time in philosophy, I had made an A. Unfortunately, that was the only class in on African antiquity that I could take. And I don't know, Sheikh also, I actually put him out of my mind for a while. But one thing I got to realize was, coming into the university again for grad school, once again, Sheikh was in the list of references here. You could check him out if you want. One of my very first courses in the Institute of African Studies, talking about the social and political systems of Africa. The first time we discussed Sheikh, but it was for about a few minutes, then off to anthropologists and ethnographers, and which was really, really disappointing. So there is this systematic effort, I feel, to make sure that, even though, it's just there because maybe we are supposed to put it there, or we are supposed to make it seem like we know of this, but in actuality, we do not want to engage such a scholar. I don't know, it's really mind-blowing, but I think that it is fundamentally wrong for us to have such great African thinkers and have a crooked person like Gandhi stand on the behind of our library. I feel such a thinking, I don't know, it is fundamental, it is psychologically wrong or contradictory, it is emotionally contradictory or even scientifically flawed to also have such great African thinkers and come into the Institute of African Studies, and there is a whole tribute to Philip Baum. So I feel with that being said, we must reignite, as in the cause to bring all of these images that do not do us any good, to bring them down and replace them with images that would, I don't know, push our psyches and I don't know, like reinstill in us some sense of self-worth, because from reading, I'm pretty sure that reading Sheikh Anta Diop was what brought me here to the Institute of African Studies, even though like subconsciously I'd put it away. And I can imagine watching the documentary again. I'm like, wow, like, I don't know, it sounds near impossible. You would read, there is a scholar who writes on the stolen works of
George William.
Yes, George James. And I remember like there is the argument about Aristotle whereby he copied about 2,000 texts, you know. They're like, it's impossible for any scholar to do that. But from watching this, you could see that, whoa, like, I don't know. Sheikh Anta Diop showed that, yo, this is like possible. I don't know, well, Aristotle clearly plagiarized and then copied, but Sheikh shows what dedication, being focused, and then also being hardworking, like, you know, where to take you. So I feel like, I don't know, we must reignite the cause to bring all of these like negative images. Also in the graduate school library, there is like Carnegie, you'll be studying, and then there is this like big picture of this white guy like staring at you, you know, or overlooking, I don't know, which is like, I don't really want to be in such a space. I don't really want to be in a space whereby Philip Baum is like, I don't know, some. So I feel like we must bring all of these images down, because they are doing us like more harm than good, and then reinstill, I don't know, yeah. So it's something that we must organize. We must organize once again to bring all of these images down, is what I would want to say.
Even when our colleagues keep putting them right back up.
Yeah.
You refer, there's a display as soon as you come in, this picture of this white man, put up by our art historian, and made sure that the image that you see as soon as you enter our studies is a Baum, who the library is named after. So if I ever become vice chancellor, you will know.
You know, so often, not only at this event, but at other events through the decades, I hear people make a statement attacking Christianity or attacking Islam. And if we are going to do some type of film or study or presentation, not only are we going to have to look at plagiarism and piracy proper, but we're also going to have to come up with a more correct narrative. We're not attacking it, it's attacking us. And it's been attacking us for a long time. And for people who say, I'm tired of being attacked, those are the voices that you hear. For people who don't mind being attacked, those are the ones who protect it.
So, yeah, come on, I'm saying, I did about as a Kania Aso, we are all illuminated. And me did say if he Sassilia in Ayashan, I am hoping, sir, you're going in. You bet fine a point be and keep it to me a day, ama a month for 80 any assassin, 80 nation. Because what we are talking about in the master, hey, you don't know yourself. You don't know yourself. What about how do say? I feel what about better say, hey, I be beneath different folk, and will be 8 me say, and you'll be beneath. And once said that they are kind the history of Egypt. What I'm for be a modern call in the friends, and yes, I'm a liker shows you. I'm a fee or more a winnie and oka first set near the copy of Egypt. Egypt, on not just a tourist guide in the Edo Moko around. The tourist guide was telling Sir Girls here or movie Ghana and say, Sir, Egyptian mom is no moon, the pyramids only the Kikaka on the Nina, and yet, even before the year. Airbrofo. A one and get a balcony, and catch a master shut up. You can't tell me, say, Sir, money out that way. ɛnyɛ me motumi nka nkyɛm sɛ mfoni ɛwɔ hɔ yi ɛyɛ broni saa na broni hwene te ɛyɛ me hwene. You see, so I think say, I mean, to cut a long story short, it's about knowing who we are. And sadly, we are not the revolution that we're seeing intimidating, and it must start right here on this campus. Young Commerce Department, who are the Africans there? Young BA books in Munionship, a Nima, that department, and it has to be questioned. Young philosophy, who are the Africans there? Young physics, young chemistry, young biology, young political science, young history, young your friends say home science. Now African studies is not. This is what we are talking about. And yes, one building BAC baby, I say, oh, maybe I be seeing African studies. Like investing in agency model.
I just want to say that, you see, because we were the first people to walk the planet, factually, we are the first people to have provided everything to humanity. Music, science, arts, architecture, medicine, we've seen it all. So when you have a philosophy which, like Dr. Obadle Kabon has said, plagiarized and was picked, copy and pasted, where you actually see writings that are 2 inches deep in granite rock, it calls for us to have a sober reflection about what is Christianity. When you look around, every single African system was informed by sustainability. We didn't do things just by heart. Everything we did had an informed reason behind it. The reason that our people go to the farm in the morning and remove food from the ground in the morning and don't have a store at the house, not because we couldn't have a store at the house, but because the nutritional value of food that you remove from the life force that morning is the highest they can do for your body. You look at the way we carry babies on our back. Now there's a modern baby carrier on the front. If you're walking to your farm and you trip and you fall, you kill your baby that morning. But the African method of carrying the baby on the back is informed by these small things. Using charcoal to brush your teeth, using charcoal to remove poison from food or food that is going off. Every single African system was so sustainable. So when it comes to religion, and you look around today, we are such a Christian society, there's churches on every single corner of this place. Yet our rivers are as dirty as they've ever been. But the original Africans, our way of life was informed by our connection with nature. So we didn't pee in the river. We didn't do number 2 in the river because you were answerable to something that you knew in your being was true. Now we've been disconnected. We now have people come to offer us GMO seeds to take over the seeds. That's the last connection with your creator. Your bodies are the creations of a high intelligence. And if the food is going to be tampered with, even the way it's going to be synthesized by the body is going to change. So if we are still thinking that these people came as saviors, it is obviously wrong. Which of you has a pastor that has gone to Kolebu Children's Hospital and has performed a miracle there for a child to get up from their seat or get up from their bed and rise? But these pastors have $5,000 that they can rent a billboard for and advertise that they want to do a miracle session. So what do we want from Christianity? And what is Christianity offering us? Look at the moral fiber of the nation. What is happening that young people have no moral values now, but these things were inculcated in our way of life. The way we pass things on by firesides, the morals. You can't even call a child who's not in school at 11 o'clock and ask them, what are you doing now? This has been affected by the mode, the software that we are using. You can't be an Apple computer and you are using a Sony software, whatever it is. I'm just using an analogy. So as Africans, our spiritual being, when you see a dead body in a mortuary, the only thing that's missing from it is the spirit of the maker that has left that meat. So we are living beings and we are connected to the original living being. So somebody who came after cannot offer you something which will help you. And we are seeing it. Our rivers, our lands, we are lying. Our judges are stealing, our policemen, but our traditional societies had ways and means of checking. If you take a shrine to parliament, or you take a bus, And the day that all the ministers come and they are vetting and they have their family standing behind them, let that same family of 4 with the children go to a shrine and swear that the father or mother is not going to steal a big pen. You see how Ghana will change. Because intrinsically we know that this is where we are about. Ghana say, no, there is something in this world. We know it intrinsically. So let's not fool ourselves. We'll go full circle and come back. But the African way of life is the original way of life. Let's go back to Sankofa.
So say the last, this is what Nicholas example. You were someone there and you don't have food. I mean, you're very poor. And so supposedly, I'm just let me use myself as an example. So I'm the one who has the money and I'm feeding you. You have no money to feed yourself. You are actually, I mean, the forces of nature and everything will tell you that you are born to accept everything that I tell you to do. Because I feed you. And without me, you are not living. This is the situation Africa is facing. The one man controls everything. We say that we want to be all African without the wise man intervention. He's going to cut funds, he's going to, prevent us from getting militants, and that's it. Might not even exist. That's it. That's the reality. We are totally dependent.
Should we build a wall around
Let's make Africa great again.
We will build a wall around them. See what we don't farm your own food. How will you feed yourself?
Just 21 days. They're going to be 21 days. No. But you feel it.
Maybe the response here, I understand the response. Maybe I'm not done, so maybe
Africa feeds the world.
That's what it is. We are poor. So what man feeds us now? Maybe, get me. I'm saying that today. The IMF is the white man's organization. Are you not the one controlling them now, telling them what to do? I'm not saying that the white man feeds you like he provides food for you. Food actually comes from Africa. That's why I believe we are the ones who grow food for everyone. But then economically, we are totally dependent on them. And I don't know who wants to go to that part for this part. We are totally dependent on them. And before we can overcome that, then we need to be economically dependent. I think that is the first step. Because if you are economically dependent, the white man tells you that today we are being dictated by the white man because he tells you if you don't do this, I'm not giving you the funds. So if you're also economically dependent, then you can tell me that this is what I want to do in Africa. You cannot tell me what to do. That is only when you are economically dependent. Today, America cannot tell China that
you need to take a lot of economics.
China is totally dependent now. Compared to 30 years ago, they could teach them that do this. This is what I want you to do. This is the curriculum I want you to put out there for your kids. But today, no, they can do it. So I'm saying that the first step for Africa to be Pan-Africans, to do more Africa is to be economically dependent. If we are, then I think we could go somewhere. And also a little bit of our education. I studied something about Africa and GHS, primary school. I have siblings today who know nothing about Ghana, nothing about Ghana, nothing about people who even lived in Ghana some 50 years ago. So I think maybe a petition should start so that we could actually put these things into primary school. We could learn something about even not Ghana, or let's just make it regional based. Learn something about Ghana, learn something about Nigeria. If it's Nigeria, the kids should learn something about Nigeria. Because nowadays it is not. So, it is something that we should, if we want to move forward, we should also check that. And the kids need to learn about Africa. And that's the way we can move.
Alright, we are going to take our photo. I want to give you La Boutique Africa View. You can buy the film there. If you do a search for those who are interested in getting a copy of the film, you can purchase it at La Boutique Africa View. I also want to let people know that we have an African-centered school, so you don't have to send your children off to be miseducated. That these white people are not winning any truth-telling contest, so don't go to them for the truth. Please, we're going to take a photo so if everyone can come up front.
How do I get a copy of
Nah.